Ashley, your scrappy nerd, and I'm back today with a layout for Scraplift Crafternoon, and it's where a bunch of my crafty peeps and I get together and we scraplift an amazing creator. And today we are scraplifting Carolyn, and you saw her layout at the top of the video. And I'm also using cut files from MK and Janet and their 31 days of cut files. And I pulled in my Simple Stories magical birthday journal bits and stickers, as well as my Craft O'Clock unicorn suite cut aparts and the paper that I have. And I thought, because you'll see the cut file in a minute, they're birthday numbers, and so that's why I pulled in these birthday themed papers. And I pulled in the Tim Holtz stencil, and you can see here where my scraps, I had this kind of vanilla shimmer scrap, and then this is the scrap from the unicorn suite paper. And this is the cut file for today was numbers that looked like candles, and so this is just one of them that I did, was the number 8, and I used the fossilized amber on the flame of the candle, and then I used my what am I trying to say, my Nuvo aroma drops and the magnolia bloom on underneath, so it looks kind of like the wax from the candle. And so I did 2 8s and a 0. I am scrapbooking 2 pictures today of my best friend's mom and her son. They had a birthday that they were the crazy 8s because the son turned 8 and her mom turned 80. And so I thought that this cut file was perfect because then I could use multiples of them. And I also pulled in some distressed ink in the Victorian Velvet and the Sealess Preserves. And so that's what I'm going to start with. I use this vanilla cardstock paper as my main background, but I wanted to put some mixed media on the background, so I used that Tim Holtz stencil, and I started with the fossilized amber, and I went around the whole background, and I knew because of Carolyn's layout, she had strips of paper in the middle, so I knew in the middle would be covered, so I was only going to do the edges and the corners of this. And so I started with the fossilized amber, and then I will go back through with the Sealess Preserves here to add some additional color. And the Sealess Preserves is very vibrant. It is very purple, and I was a little bit worried that it was too purple after I did this with the purple from the collection, but I think in the end, because it's not as in your face when everything is on the layout, it kind of blends back in. But at first I was a little concerned that this purple was too dark for my papers that I picked. And then I went in with the Victorian Velvet, which is just a very light pink, and kind of went over some of the yellow to just add again that third color, because this Craft O'Clock papers are very pastel colors, and I'm so happy about this cut file because I wasn't sure how I was going to scrapbook these photos for the Crazy 8 party, and because it's a girl and a boy, and so I didn't want it to be too girly, but I didn't want it to be too masculine. And so I think that this paper, I didn't use any of the unicorns, but I was able to make it so that it covered both of the birthdays well. And then tomorrow for cut files is also another kind of birthday cut file, and so I will continue using this collection for this birthday theme, and I think it will work out really good. And so I pulled in these, there was a blue and a purple, and the strips on her layout were different and they alternated, but I wanted to cut the strips and then I wanted to keep the colors together. So you'll see I'll cut purple strips and I'll cut blue strips, but I will keep all the purple on one side and all the blue on the other, and instead of intermingling the strips. And I like how that looked because it kind of highlights the whole 8 verse 80 birthday theme that we had going on. And I cut the strips. I think they're about an inch long, and I will then distress each of the strips. I believe Carolyn's were distressed. I'm not completely sure, but I always distress things. You know that it's one of my favorite things to do. So I then go through and I will use my Tim Holtz distress to distress every single one of the papers. And the nice thing about the Craft Clock papers is that they're thicker, so when you distress them you can really see that they're distressed. You can see that white core from the paper in them, and it helps to highlight that they are different and it's not just one strip kind of blending into another. And so that's why I really like distressing, especially with the thicker papers. When they're thin papers, because you'll see I will distress the vanilla cardstock paper when I put it down, and it's a thin paper, so it's distressed, but it's not as obvious because it is such a thin paper. But we'll get there. So I'm getting all of these distressed so I can get them laid down. While I'm doing that, make sure that you go and visit Carolyn's Instagram. She does amazing things. Give her some love. She has beautiful layouts there, as well as go and visit all of my crafty peeps who hop along and are scrap lifting Carolyn today to see how they gather inspiration from her layout. There is a playlist, so you can just hit the play button and watch everyone's beautiful layouts and give them some likes and some loves as well. And so I pulled in this scrap that was this, like, it's kind of shimmery. You can't really tell on the video, but it's a shimmery vanilla color, and that's what I used for the cut file. And so I'm going to use that to back my photos in. And even in person, it's not like an overpowering shimmer, but when the light catches it, you can really see that it's not just a plain dull like vanilla color. And so that's what I'm doing my photo mats in, and that'll just help them to pop up off of those strips that are there. And I think that Carolyn had a tag. She had the 2 photos that were there next to each other, and then she had a tag, and I'm actually gonna kind of make my photos a little wonky. They won't be in a straight line, but you can see where my inspiration came from her layout. And so I put the strips on there, but then you can't really see the mixed media from the top and bottom, so I wanted to cut them down so that they were shorter. And all I did was kind of take one strip and measure where I kind of wanted it to end, and then I cut all of the other strips to that size, and then I will stagger them so that they're not straight across. So you can see here that, like, there's higher and lower at the bottom. But I then decided that I wanted to use this paper as to mat that vanilla paper. I knew that I was going to have an outer layout mat because Carolyn did, and she also did some stitching, and I had thought about it, but I just didn't get to the stitching. But I hadn't decided which of the papers I was going to use for the back, and in the end I decided on this one because I thought it pulled in all of the beautiful colors from this collection. But I gutted it because I don't have many papers left of this collection, which, yay, that's exciting, right? That means I'm using an entire collection, but I want to finish scrapbooking these photos with all the same collection. And so I wanted to gut that out so I can use that again on another layout. And so I got that matted on the back there, and it just pulls in those colors from the center really well. And then here are those cut files. Like I said, I cut them out in the shimmery paper, the shimmery vanilla paper, and then I use that scrap of the colorful, like, wood to back them. And then I used the fossilized amber for the flame, and I used my Nuvo drops to put on as like the wax that was dripping. And it just is really cute. It just kind of adds some dimension and some shimmer to that. And I really liked how I could have the 8 versus the 80, and it was just really fun. And so I'm pulling in some bits from the ephemera. You saw the party there on the bottom right came from the Simple Stories ephemera. And then all the cut aparts, they're like cotton candy and the colorful presents, those are all from the fussy cut elements from the Craft O'Clock Unicorn Suite, and I just love those. I love Craft O'Clock in general, and I love their cut aparts, and so these presents are just adorable. And so I got those around, and I will put this little saying says celebrate good times, and then that banner that goes between both of them that says celebrate, that's from the Simple Stories sticker sheet. And I have a hard time with banners, but I thought that one just looks perfect there. And I only glued down the top part of the banner and kind of bent up each of the letters so that it has a little bit of dimension when you look at the layout. Next to the number 8 there, I have age is just a number. And over on the right side, I will move that happy birthday to you down under the party. And then I'll put today you shine, you know, again, my wordy bits. And I put a couple of the sticker like streamers around. But this is a simple layout. I got my clusters on each of the photos, and I just love this layout. Her mom is adorable, and there was a face paint person there, and so we all have our face painted, and so I just love it. But that's the layout. Thanks again to everyone who has liked and subscribed to my channel. I really appreciate it. If you haven't yet, go ahead and hit those buttons below. I love to have you. And if you want to be notified of new videos, just hit the little bell. And I hope that everyone has a great day. Bye.